How's it going, everyone? Welcome to this week's Q&A. Like any other week, if you want a chance at one of your questions being answered, make sure you drop a comment down below in the comment section with your question. And just in case I haven't answered one of your questions, it's a possibility that I'm either working on a video for that question or I just simply didn't see it. I try to get to every question in the comment section, although sometimes YouTube won't notify me or I'll miss it. So, there's a possibility that I did not see your question. So if I haven't answered it, make sure you do drop a comment once again. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first question of the week. And what are available options for the TLX Type S brakes without being OEM or costing an arm and a leg, like two-piece rotors like I have on my personal car? So obviously OEM parts or OEM pads and rotors on this car are very underwhelming, and they overheat very quickly and causing a lot of vibration issues, specifically with the front. But either way, one option is the racing brake rotors and pads like I have, which are a two-piece design. They're lightweight and a lot more aggressive pad compound, although they do run approximately 1,700 hours, which is obviously very expensive. So one option out there that I've installed on two different TLX Type S's at this point is BrakeNetic, and that is about $650, give or take. I'll try to have a direct link to the product in the comment section down below. So if you're interested, do give it a chance and check it out. Once again, very comparable to OEM prices, although the pack compound so far has been known to be a little bit more resilient than the OEM setup, which is very subpar once again. And from those two people that have installed these, I've had some positive feedback. So until I have any other word, going against that, I'm going to recommend these for the time being. If some other options do become available, which there are, although, I'll let you know at this point, I think this is the best bang for the buck. Obviously, if you want a two-piece rotor design, there are options. But again, two-piece design rotors come at a much higher price, and not everybody is willing to throw that kind of money at some brakes. So once again, BrakeNetic for the front and rear, they do offer pads and rotors both for the front and rear. And from the two users that I've installed them on, have been very happy with them so far. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so next question is, what are some common issues with the third generation Honda Odyssey? And this was, I believe, from 05 to 2011 Honda Odysseys. And like any other Odyssey, they require a ton of maintenance just due to the nature to all the moving components and wells and whistles that came with them at their respective time. So some common issues are engine mounts. A lot of power, a lot of torque. Mounts weren't the best design, so it took a toll on them. A lot of oil leaks, valve cover gaskets, VCM solenoid if applicable, front engine pump, oil pump leaking, and then on the back side we had the rear main seal leaking. Typically those were on higher mileage vehicles, although it was an issue for sure. Another thing that won't be applicable to any other Honda vehicle is sliding door center rollers. They got a ton of use, and particularly the passenger side will go first because that's typically the sidewalk side, and people get out from that side more than the driver's side. But although both of them did fail, with that being said, the sliding door motor also failed, typically on the passenger side first versus the driver's side. So all those repairs are pretty costly. We had some compliance bushings. With some of them, you can do just a bushing. This is the lower arm suspension bushing. Some of them, if their arms are aluminum, then those required the whole arm replacement, which is, again, a lot of money. Stabilizer links, rear struts, stuff like that. So links and rear shocks weren't that expensive, although it is something that is going to cost you money. So if you're in the market for one of these vehicles, make sure you take a mechanic to them, specifically a Honda mechanic, or bring it to them, or have a mechanic come out to the site where the van is and have them inspect it thoroughly. As they got older, we also saw a lot of malfunctions. So that's also something to keep an eye on for that. So again, if you're in the market for one of these vehicles, make sure you take it to somebody. If they charge $100, $200, it's better to make that investment than walk into a van that's somebody else's problem and now going to become your problem with the purchase. So hopefully that answers the question for you. So the next question is how to deal with clogged up sunroof drains. This question was specific to New York, although this will apply to basically anything. So if you park for an extended period of time under trees or anything like that, that's gonna have a lot of leaf deterioration or little flowers or anything like that and falling on top of the car, that obviously over time that stuff makes it into the sunroof channels and clogs up the drain as the particles break up. So my recommendation will be is every time you take your car in for service, or if you don't take it in for service, every 6 months, just take some compressed air and blow lightly into the drains. They're typically in the front of the vehicle, on the corners of the sunroof housing or track, whatever you want to call it, and just take some compressed air. And then the way you test it, I usually like to take some sort of fluid. Water works just fine. Sometimes I do wash fluid just because it has a blue tint, and you're certain that's coming out of the drains and not out of the AC drain, for instance, if you're running it. So I just pour some in there on both corners, make sure they're dripping at a good rate, and just make sure you clean out the whole track. So once again, if you're in an area where this happens a lot, or you're parked under trees, big bushes, whatever the case may be, just make sure you're looking at these every other oil change or every 6 months, something like that. Obviously, if it's clogging faster than you're cleaning them, then you need to do a more thorough job, or clean them every 2-3 months, whatever may pertain to your certain situation. But I've actually had a few of these causing a couple of water leaks inside the vehicles, and it was always due to the drains being clogged. So hopefully that answers the question for you. So the next question is kind of a two-part question. What is my opinion on Honda filters and their quality, as well as my opinion on that Honda recommends replacing them every other oil change? Yes, that's true. Go look in the owner's manual. It is there. They don't recommend it every oil change. They've recommended every other oil change. So anytime somebody tells me, I'm no engineer and Honda designed X, Y, and Z in a certain manner, I tell them, well, when's the last time you listened to the Honda's owner manual and replace your oil filter every other time? And everyone always says never. So that's that. But anyways, I think it's a horrible idea that they recommend that. And for the price of the filter, I say just change it every time. If you follow Honda's algorithm, you could go 10, 15, 20,000 miles on a single oil filter change if you follow their recommendations, which once again, I believe is ludicrous, and you should just change it for the $6, $7, $10 that it may cost you. As far as the quality goes, I believe there's no reason to do anything aftermarket. And in this situation, I've had many vehicles. I've had a lot of high performance vehicles with a lot of power versus the stock the configuration that it came from factory, and I have never had an issue. Obviously, it's a full out race car, then you may want to look at something else. But as far as an everyday or a car with a couple bolt-ons making another 100, 200 horsepower, the OEM filter does a phenomenal job. Yes, you should change it every oil change. Don't follow Honda's recommendation doing every other oil change. I think that's completely ludicrous. But that's my opinion on that. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so for the last question of the week, and once again, if you want a chance that one of your questions is being answered, make sure you do drop a comment in the comment section down below with your question, and I'll try to get to each and every question. So in my opinion, what is the best and the worst Honda to own? I'll start off with the best, and I think for everything all overall, the whole picture is the HR-V. I made a video on this before, and I think it's a great vehicle. The first generations were a little rough around the edges. I had some issues in the initial stages. The second generation seems to be a lot more solid. My only gripe about it is that it is slightly underpowered, but for the average everyday person, they won't really care about that. It's offered in an all-drive configuration, has great interior space. It looks pretty good, it looks higher end than it actually is, and has a pretty good fuel economy for its class and everything, and just overall very low maintenance costs. So when you package the whole thing together, I think it's a great vehicle to own and very problem-free, at least up until now. So if I was in the market for a new car, that would definitely be on my list if it applied to my current life situation with children. If you're older, whatever your situation may be, that would be my only thing against it at this point. but if it fits your needs, then I think it's a great vehicle. As far as the worst Honda vehicle currently in the market, or kind of sort of in the market, I would say the 10th gen Accord or the 11th gen Accord. Anything really with the 1.5T. The reason I picked the 10th gen Accord would be because that's where we see the most issues with that engine. People complain about the CVT transmission, although from injectors to blown head gaskets to lazy turbo wastegate actuators that requires whole turbo replacement, we see a ton of issues with those cars. We also see some BCM failures, and the list just goes on and on and on. So I would personally stay away from any 10th gen Accord with the 1.5T. If you're in the market for a 2.0T, then that's probably okay. We are starting to see some heads cracking and some blown head gaskets, but nothing compared to the 1.5T. We're probably seeing like 50-1. So obviously a big difference there. And once again, I would just stay away from anything Accord 1.5T. If you are in the market for anything with Honda's 1.5T in it, make sure you purchase Honda Care. Don't purchase these aftermarket warranties. They are no good. We literally have people getting declined left and right on a daily basis, not specific to the 1.5T, but just anything overall that they think they're going to get covered. And these companies make sure they have a lot of small script stuff written down that people don't catch on to, and they'll say, well, that's just maintenance. If you had done X, Y, and Z, we wouldn't be here today. So my recommendation, stay away from anything 1.5T. If you do choose to a 1.5T platform, CRV, Civic, Integra, Accord, whatever the case may be, Honda Care, Acura Care, absolutely, whatever it costs you, make sure you get it, especially if you're purchasing the vehicle versus leasing it. So that's my opinion on the best Honda to own right now and the worst Honda. So hopefully that answers the question for you, and I'll catch you guys next week.